Hi everyone and welcome to the Scratticus Academy. We are back for Dunera Day. It feels like an absolute age since we've been here and it's too long in my opinion. So first of all, just quickly, please check out the links that come up in chat. This includes our Discord. We have a channel just for Dunera. And also if you want to catch up on the previous seasons or if you just miss any of the episodes, you can check out our YouTube, which is where the playlist for this is. Also a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors in the form of Hero Forge, which you will have seen some of the characters in Dunera put up on the screen beforehand. Also wonderful Mage Hand Press. Dark Matter is out. I freaking love it so much. Please go check it out. I have 2 copies now. Also the wonderful The Deck of Many that do their moving spell cards, and also Humblewood, which is just one of the prettiest and most adorable books out there. Otherwise, let's hop round and thank you, Mal. Otherwise, let's hop round and say hi to everyone, and we will start with the very lovely J Gods Gold. Oh hi.
Oh hi. Hope everyone is thriving tonight. I am Jay or Jagons Gold, and I will be playing Paula Packer, our dancer librarian who is currently in the process of sneaking onto an airship with her old friend Averick. Well, old friend, I mean, kind of new friend, but
3-week old friend.
Yeah. But yeah, no, and I'm really excited for this week, and the Valadrians seem really awesome, and I'm super excited to get back into Dunera because it's felt like a long time.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. And then we're going to hop down to the very lovely Tour School. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. How's everyone doing tonight? I am, like many of you out there, still recovering from the Pax-U plague. So I am, if I'm hacking up a small alien creature midway through the broadcast, just clip it and we'll save it for, like, you know, when people try to figure out why the apocalypse started. But I will be playing Tolan Falk. He is a retired, quickly becoming unretired seeker, and is kind of watching with horror as Paula and Averick seem to be intent on to sneak onto this airship, and he and Jonathan are just kind of like, ugh, Valadrians, really? So here we go. Can't wait to find out more about the company and our new visitors from Valadrians.
Love the mutual disgust for Valadrians that Tolan and Jonathan seem to share. And then we're going to hop over to lovely Mal. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi, I'm Mal. I'm glad to be back. I watched the first episode of the season this morning, and I suddenly realized I'm wearing the same shirt. It's been 2.5 weeks, so I feel that's fine. I'm playing Reese. He's got a wolf named Astrid. She's a very good girl. And he also is Valadrians, and why are we getting entangled in shit again?
Wonderful, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Sarah. Oh, hi.
Hey folks, I am Sarah L. Kinney, pretty much everywhere on the internet, and in this game I play Florence Fetlock. She is a sturdy woman who is a postal service worker for the city of Karnan. And currently she has a set of extremely important letters that she's in the process of delivering to some very familiar folks. And she just finished delivering her first one to Freeze.
Awesome, thank you. I will say I have a homebrew trinket list for this wonderful psychosystem game. So there are donations and retweets for that as well. Otherwise, Florence, you have...
I forgot one thing.
Yes, go.
Everyone should sub to Alice's Patreon. It's amazing. Her photography is amazing. She did a photo shoot at PAX-U. I got to watch from the sidelines. Jay was there. It was amazing. She was thriving.
It was so good. Honestly, I feel so honored to have even been a part of it, and like to have had Alice zoom her lens on my face. So you should definitely subscribe to that Patreon and check out those photos and all future content from the wonderful Alice Cleaver White Rabbit pic.
Well, thank you. Everything starts getting released in the next few days. Parcels get sent out, everything. I'm not in a mad rush at all. This is fine. Otherwise, Florence, you have stood there. It's like the crowd around you is sort of fogged, as if you're hearing everything from underwater. Everything seems to muddle and mute itself as you look down at this little girl who tugs on your uniform. And Reese is looking down at this letter. Did you open it, Reese? Or had you just held it?
Don't remember. I don't think
I
I got around to opening it yet.
Okay. And Tolan, you sort of you can look around at this point because Reese has definitely turned his back on both you and Jonathan. Would you stay watching Averick and Polla, or would you look around to see what Reese is doing?
No, I probably seeing the two of them having excitedly and animatedly talk about and probably gesture toward, and I can't recall, but probably moving that way a little bit as well. I think he would be doing that, but I also, because we have this new person who's right here sort of in the middle of us, I think it's sort of that he's probably like doing the back and forth eyes thing of, so he is, if he looks away from them, he's all of a sudden they're going to get in big trouble. And then we've got something happening here. And who's this person and new people and Tolan and all that stuff.
Yeah. As you sort of glance backwards and forwards, you can see Polla and Averick. It's pretty easy to spot them purely from Clyde sort of moving, and the crowd seem to be parting. Thank you for that wonderful donation for everyone to get a trinket. Everyone will get one of those shortly.
D100?
It is a D100, yes please, if everyone could roll one of those. You do look back and you have this image where you can see the crowd is parting because Clyde is just making his way through, and you can guess that Averick and Polla are there. And you can sort of glance back at this, which you recognize as the postal worker uniform, and Reese, not being a local to the city but receiving a letter anyway. Jonathan seems to be looking back at this postal worker, looks over to you, Florence, he's like, oh, hello. Lovely day. Like, seems quite cheery about everything, almost happy to be distracted from the Valadrians.
Yes, no, all things considered, this is the kind of day that makes me really happy. My job is predominantly outdoors.
Oh, well, aren't you a delight? Very cheerful, sort of looks over towards Tolan, and Florence, as you look down, that little girl is gone.
Excuse me, y'all, did you see, I don't believe I was the only one to see it. Did y'all happen to notice a little girl asking for help? I didn't make that up, did I?
Tolan scowls.
Yeah, Jonathan looks mildly perplexed. What about
Florence,
Reese?
I think Reese is busy opening the letter, so he wouldn't have seen anything.
Okay. You open this letter, and it's calling you to Valadria, the main city, to meet with the company. It gives you some information on how they want to see you in the next few weeks. You're welcome to board one of their airships for travel in the next few days before they leave again, or you end up making your own way to Valadria. And it gives you the information that it sees you as a key witness at what happened at the church.
I think he just reads it once, understands what it's asking, and he just shoves it at Tolan and is like,
What is this? And he opens it up. Well, that's... How did they know you were here? And how... Now he looks at Florence. How did you know where to find him?
I'm sorry, sir, one moment. And at this, I think Florence has gotten out onto one knee. getting to where she would have been at eye level with this child if the child were still there, and is sort of like, she clearly has like a bundle of letters in one arm, but she's leaning forward and she's trying to like look through people's legs in the crowd to see if she can spot this disappeared child.
Are you ill?
No, actually, I'm worried a child might be, though. I swear there was a little girl here asking for help. You didn't see that?
No.
No.
And does Florence see anything in the crowd?
Absolutely nothing in the crowd. You can see some children there. They seem to be holding onto parents' hands. Some of them sort of runs excitedly, at all of these things that keep happening. But otherwise, you don't see that little girl anywhere.
So there's a lost child. You lost your child.
I lost a child. They would have been my responsibility. I think that's how that works if they were still here, but she's gone now. So anyways, I guess back to letters. I'm sorry, what did you ask, sir?
Well, Reese has been in town less than 24 hours, maybe a little, I don't know, maybe a little more. He's not from around here. I'm assuming by your uniform you deliver letters to addresses, yet you have walked directly up to this gentleman, sight unseen, and been able to deliver a letter to them. You don't find that strange?
You live here, right? You look familiar. Wait, hold on. Is it reasonable to think Florence might recognize him? I think we had said earlier he was along one of her normal routes.
Yeah, it depends how good Florence is with names. Otherwise, you might know his name rather than his face if Tolan never answers the door. You might know him for the one that you have to slide letters under the door. I don't know. Would Tolan answer the door for post, or is it literally lets it build up? I was going to say it's a let it build up kind of thing.
So in that case, I mean, do you live here? The mail always, it has a way of being delivered. It always kind
yes,
of
and piling up
person.
and filling up my trash bin just as easily.
Sir, you should really read your mail.
You would be surprised at what comes in my mail.
Probably not as surprised as you might think I should be, but anyways.
So, the letter from Valadrians made it to you from apparently these people who just arrived to this gentleman who just arrived.
That is precisely how it worked, yes, sir. Actually, I have a couple of other pieces of mail to deliver. Would you mind giving me your name?
Yes, I would.
Very well, then.
Tolan just turns around.
Jonathan moves. Is like, I'm Jonathan. Sort of shimmies round a little bit. He's like, do you have anything for me? You don't, but he seems very happy that you're asking.
No, none for you. I'm so sorry, but I figured that perhaps if this one letter, as our one friend might put it, miraculously delivered itself to one Mr. Blackash, perhaps some of the others might magically deliver themselves to this group as well.
Of course. And he just sort of backs up a little bit, pulls out a small container and starts eating something out of it. And Tolan, as you turn round...
Yeah, I turn back to see whether I've lost track of Averick and Paula.
Roll me an intellect check, or if you have perception, roll that and I'll let you...
Of course I don't have perception. It's Tolan. He's focused,
yeah.
which means that he sees less of things, not more of things. It's like, what's he focused on? Trying to find them. But no, yeah, you have to build up for a focus. So yeah, I think it's just me doing intellect check.
Yeah, yes, please.
I will actually I think I will spend an effort on this. Just
an eye on them.
Yeah, because yes, he is probably fairly mortified that they might somehow get onto giant airship. So 6, which
Okay.
only beats difficulty 2.
You think you see them. You think you see them moving. You can see like the top of Averic's head, but it is heading straight towards the airship. The only thing is, on a 2, you get distracted very, very quickly as you hear a voice you recognize. It's just like, Tolan! Tolan! And you can hear like that Tuva's voice come ringing shrilly through this crowd. And you see a Sylvis before you see Tuva, as she has it on. It doesn't seem to be on a leash or anything like that. It's literally just walking like from side to side. Like, as it moves through, you see a lot of people take a step back. Some kids sort of like squeal in excitement at seeing it as this very silver coat, huge stag, which looks like it's grown a little bit. Tuva has got a warmer jacket on. She's not so much in her red anymore. She's gone for more muted colors. In fact, you see what looks a lot like an oversized denim jacket, which was Charlie's at one point, as she's sort of got it shrugged on. She's also got a massive rucksack round her front, not on her back. She seems to be wearing it on her front. It's moving. There looks to be something stuffed in it, but she doesn't seem to be letting it out.
Tolan looks to Florence. Oh, here. There's a girl, you can have that one. And turns back around to Reese and goes, Reese, Paula and Averic are up to Paula and Averic. And tries to point out what's going on. I do probably say that loud enough that you would hear me say Paula's name.
Florence actually does squint at the little child to see like, oh, is that the one?
Yeah, she looks at you, makes eye contact as you see this huge bag on her front, this huge Sylvis like moving next to her. And she's like, oh, hi, who are you?
I am just a friendly neighborhood postal worker. Excuse me, are you in need of help?
No. Do I look like I need help? And she sort of looks down at herself. She looks overladen, but she doesn't seem to be too bothered by it.
You know, you only need whatever help you ask for, and if you're not asking for any, then you're doing just fine.
Oh yeah, no, I'm doing great. I'm just taking this one for a walk. Thought I'd come see what's going on.
And the Sylvis just slowly blinks at you with these very long eyelashes, these almost sort of golden silver antlers that sort of shift in color slightly as it looks at you.
I came to see my friends.
And she literally gestures towards like Tolan and Reese. Big smile on her face, like rosy cheeks. And then she looks around.
Where's Paula? Averic? Where are they? Where's Matthias?
So like starts looking around.
Oh, wait, is Matthias with Averic and Paula?
No, he's at home.
He's at home, okay.
He's at home.
Tolan looks to Tuba. And if I recall, the Sylvis is like up to the top of her head, like 9
big.
feet tall, right?
Yeah, it's big. Like you're looking at this, like in the eyes.
I mean,
sort of
way
zooms at
taller.
you.
Yeah, like Tuva, Viadia. Could you climb up onto your friend's head and see if you can get a good view of them, and let me know if you'll see Clyde, because Clyde, if they are trying to make their way to sneak on board that airship.
Yeah, all right. Hold this.
And she sort of shrugs the rucksack onto you, and she starts to climb up onto this Sylvis, like a bit of it actually bows down a little bit to let her climb onto its back, as she sort of scrabbles up, holding onto the antlers, like does that sort of look out. She's like,
are they getting on that ship all right?
Like it sort of like goes to have a look over as she can see them heading in that direction.
Oh, Lord. I'm assuming, do I have I just lost the pandas in the sack?
No.
Oh, so I think
you can see the red panda sort of around behind the Sylvis climbing up on the other side.
So because he saw the sack move, right?
Oh yeah.
So having now seen the panda, thinking the panda's in the sack, I think he probably puts both of his hands out. Like at first he was like, "Oh, it's just it's the panda." Now he's like, kind of holds it out from him.
She looks at you like down. Like, what's wrong?
What's in your bag? It's
Lyricus.
It's not. It's not. It's not the dragon.
It's not it. It's Lyricus.
You brought it here.
I can't leave it in the restaurant, can I?
Well, probably not. But
this one's causing enough problems.
And sort of gestures towards this silver.
It's all right. It's pretty comfy in there. I gave it something to eat.
And you can just hear it's almost like this weird, very satisfied, almost purring a sound as this thing is moving around. Like it's trying to get comfortable, not like it's trying to get out.
Just stop squirming, Tolan says to the
only
bag.
do that more.
As she sort of looks down.
Remind me to tell your mother that she is a saint.
Yeah, a lot of the people in the restaurant say that as well. But that was before we got this and
starts gesturing to the Silvus and her bag.
Reese, I think we've got one chance to intercept them. Well, wait. He hands back apparently you're invited. Maybe you should see if this invitation can get us to get to Pola and Averick before they cause trouble. I know it's exciting, but...
I mean, if they knew I was here and what happened, then they know we were all there, I would think. And you all have addresses in town. And she's a postal worker who found me.
Tolan Folk. He looks and just spits his name out at Florence.
I'm sorry, one moment, sir. And she's been politely turned herself so she's slightly not looking at the group. But she's very clearly going through letters and rifling through them while looking at the Silvus. And she's very clearly heard Aggie and Averick over and over again. I'm sorry, sir, what was your name again?
Tolan Folk. The Blightbringer.
Oh, no need to say something so unkind. And this is only addressed to one Mr. Tolan Falk. Thank you so much. I do need you to sign a form, and I do need you to press hard enough that your name makes it all the way to the back page.
They not outfitted you with a magic clipboard yet that does triplicate automatically.
We're a little behind the times at the post office.
As they're trying to exchange things, Reese just reaches around and takes the bag out of Tolan's arms.
That's the dragon.
Yeah, I know.
And you could just hear this disgruntled as it's moving around something in there, as a clank, which sounds like glass in there, but you're not too sure.
And so, Tolan signs and hands it back. And I assume it's kind of, obviously but from the same person, same hand or whatever.
Almost identical, and you have just that letter that everyone sends out, everyone gets, and someone just writes the name at the top and signs it at the bottom. It's that form of thing.
Whips it open out of the envelope and I assume reads the same type idea. Being Valadrian, you would think that they would have at least made personalized letters. So
you can see as Tuva is at the top, she's just watching now. She's sort of sat on top of this Silvus, holding onto the antlers, keeping an eye out, watching Pola and Averick move.
How much time do we have, Tuva, before they get themselves on board that?
I don't know. There's only really one of those posh people dressed up funny. There's only one of them in the way, so Probably not long.
Well, it always works with Clyde. Tuva, can you get this Sylvis to make a path for us?
Of course I can.
And she sort of like slides down a little bit and sort of, she seems to whisper into this very long, soft ear that droops down at the side that perks up. And she sits on it, and you just she sort of holds out her hand to Reese. Is like,
Can I have my rucksack, please?
thank you. And she just like straps it back onto herself. She's like, Brenna, and this red panda jumps up onto the back of this Sylvis. And then you just see this huge white deer start working its way through the crowd.
Excuse me? Yeah, no, excuse me.
Like, she's just like pushing through.
Like, excuse me, sir. No, your other left.
And like, it is like trying to move people through this crowd.
I sort of put out my hand to Jonathan and Reese, and I sort of look at Florence and go, I'm sure you probably have more letters for more of us, and we might need them very soon. And sort of scurries after, in the wake of this Sylvis.
And over to Paula and Averick. You're both stood by, right by this airship. And you can see it's called the TC Valadria, and which is sort of ornately carved into with gold and deep dark sort of reddish wood along the side. There seems to be one sort of guard, effectively, just in a smart uniform, not really guarding the stairs, as it were, but he's in the area. Otherwise, everyone else seems to be moving off or being greeted. You can definitely see a group of them heading towards the direction of the church. Some of them for even greeting the people in the crowd. And Averick is looking at you like, do you actually want to get on there?
Well, we've come this far, so we might as well.
Well, shouldn't we I'll text him. And it's like Averick starts texting Tolan, just as like a heads up so that he can say that he has texted him. And there is a moment where he looks at you and he's like, well, how'd you want to get on here? We can't just waltz on past that one. As he looks, as there is a woman stood there very proudly, so again, very, very blonde hair, stood by these steps that looks like they've folded down, and with almost like a very almost like twisted red rope that acts almost like as a banister.
Does it look like there's any other entrances to this thing?
It looks like there's one other very similar entrance, like the stairs would roll down at the back, but it's not open.
All right. Does it look like there's anyone guarding that, or like?
No, there's no one guarding that. It's up near the other end by some of the propellers and one of the engines.
I'm thinking we're going to need to get in through the back end. And then I point over towards that other entrance.
And Averick looks over. Clyde sort of dopily looks in that direction as well. He's like, you want to break in?
Well, I mean, yeah.
He sort of pauses like, right, okay. Tolan's going to hate this. And it's like, lead the way. I can't believe I'm doing this.
And Paula leads. She whips out her fan just like for like the extra added element of disguise to like kind of blur her face so she's not recognized by anyone.
Averick is just like pulls the hood up.
Make sure no one sees you.
That's a bit difficult, as he gestures to Clyde, who is sort of like all over the place coming after you both.
Yeah, and as Paula makes her way towards the back, she's definitely like trying to keep like a low profile and like sneaking around like her dancer graceful self.
Okay. You can easily get to the back. You can almost weave through the crowd to get towards the back. There's crowds there. they're definitely more focused on the other end where people are coming out of the airship. But you can see it. It's like a door. There's a hatch at the top which has to be pulled down so that the stairs fold out. Are you doing this stealthily or with confidence?
I think now that we're around the back and there's less crowds, I'm gonna do this with confidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am gonna get you to roll, I think, a speed check. So that just to see, like, if you do it clumsily, then it doesn't look confident.
Okay. And I'm going to use an advantage.
Okay.
Okay.
Describe to me how you open it up as Averick stands slightly awkwardly behind you.
About how high up is this thing?
It's quite high up, but there seems to be a pole at the top. It's more you might have to stand on your tiptoes to reach it.
Yeah, so Paula kind of leaps up and grabs onto this mechanism and kind of like unhooks it in like one foul swoop, and she maybe even like does like a backflip for flair, like bounce like off the side of the wall or something, just to show off to Averick since he's being a wuss.
Yeah. Averick is just sort of watching, like arms folded, and on that 18 you sort of see it fall down, and you see the stairs fall down, go as they start to fall down. They light up very, very briefly before settling, and you can see an entranceway into this airship. And Averick is like, the more you show off, the more they're going to see. And you can hear someone going, excuse me, like as this, you see these antlers moving through this crowd.
Oh, Tuva's going to give us away. We got to get on as quick as possible.
And Averick immediately looks to you, and Reese, Tolan, and Florence, just all three of you make a perception or intellect check to see if you spot them getting on the back.
Eight.
I'm gonna use an effort again because three ain't gonna do much.
Okay,
we lose them.
They both, Paula, you and Averick quickly get on the back. You see Averick half dragging Clyde up. What I will say though, on 2 is for Reese and Florence, you see the back door close as it folds back up. You don't see anyone in particular go on it, but Tolan, you definitely cannot see Averick and Paula anymore.
Oh, this is not good. Do you see them? I've lost them. They were heading right towards the open front door. Tuva, did you see where they went?
He said, I'm trying to clear a path for you. I can't do both things at once.
Fine.
And like she's at the front and she's still just like going.
I lost them, but I saw a door closed. It was closing.
Well, we have these letters. Should we just march on up through the front door and hopefully meet them halfway, or?
I feel like we did this just yesterday.
I'm
marched in a place, hoping to meet up.
He holds out his letter. But we literally have something that says, feel free to take one of our airships. And with that, I think Tolan kind of goes, it's none of this bursting down the doors. I've been invited.
So are you going up the main door?
At this point, I think Tolan goes into old man. I have my senior pass, and it's senior hour at the buffet.
Yeah, this woman stands there. You've only seen her looking at the side of you with this blonde hair. And as you sort of approach, she turns and you can see just part of round her eye is this mechanical sort of thing built into the side, and her eye is a slightly different color. And she smiles. Hello.
Yes. I've received this letter, this summons from the company, and they said to report to the airship. So here I am.
May I have a look? And she
Certainly.
sort of holds out her hand and takes it. Looks
I
over.
want that back.
She raises her head. One eye stays looking down, but this other eye looks at you as you say that, shifts around a little bit, and then looks back down at the letter.
That's quite an interesting augment you have there.
Thank you.
Back in my younger days, I worked on trying to do integrating augmented magical inventions into people to help them when they had potentially lost a limb or other faculty. The company seems to have perfected things quite a bit further than I ever got.
Perfected. Not quite. It gets itchy. And she sort of like winks with it slightly, blinking, almost as if like when your eye gets dry. She's like, I lost my eye, and this helps me give me some form of
Depth
full sight
perception.
back.
Yes.
Yes. Otherwise, it can be rather awkward. Otherwise, all this seems to check out perfectly well, Mr. Folk. Welcome
Yes.
aboard.
I have my friend Reese. He has his wolf with him, and our other companions. Is there room for? Well, you can see this. It's her dear childhood pet friend, Silvis.
She smiles and looks at all of you. It's like, there is always room. And she looks particularly at Astrid and gives a small smile, and then looks to you, Reese. From Red Wolf Island, are you?
Yep.
Wonderful. And sort of blinks. Again, one eye blinks out of time with the other.
So it said that leaving in several days should we go on and get ourselves? Quite frankly, I'd love to take a look around, and then we can come and go into. When are you leaving? What is our schedule?
Not for 3 days. We're not leaving for 3 days. We have only just arrived with many things to deal with. But please, go and take a look. I know how intriguing Valadrian airships can be.
Yes, Valadrian things are quite wonderful.
They are.
Colin says.
And she sort of leans down by the stairs, and you see her flick a button, and they start to slide open a little bit more, as does the door as it widens and grows in height. She's like, welcome aboard. And
Isn't that convenient?
she just gives you a smile, and Tuva has sort of slid off the silver. She's like,
Perfect.
and starts walking this silver straight onto the airship.
Make yourself at home, dear. Oh, Lord.
Yes, watches her go.
I look to Reese. I look at Reese. Are you coming aboard? Are you tired with our marching in through front doors of places?
I think at this point he's just gonna go along with whatever's going on again.
You have the patience.
I mean,
of saints.
Tuva's already headed on the ship, so we can't just let Tuva wander around alone.
So, if you're walking up, I'm going to sort of conspiratorially sort of shoulder up next. She was like, "We've got a wolf, a Silvis, and a dragon. If we can't make a distraction with that to go find out where the world Paula and Avric are off to, I don't know where we can. We're in trouble."
And Florence, do you follow them on as well? The woman does look at you with a very kind smile, and she looks at you sort of up and down like, you must be with the postal service.
And Florence is slowly following them at first, but she's crunched the numbers in her head, and she knows how long it will take her to walk to Pola and Avric's like home addresses. And as long as she can spend less than like an hour or so on this trip, she can actually make her day a lot shorter by delivering these letters directly. So for now, she's walking behind, and when she gets to the or to the greeter, she nods kindly. You have a sharp eye and an interesting knowledge of Karnan for a visitor. Excuse me if you come here more often, but yes, I have 2 letters that I believe can be delivered to people on board the ship.
Then please. And we are made to study every area we go to before flying there.
How astute? I don't know, but that's pretty neat. Anyways, I'm gonna go.
You can start walking up. She just smiles. Welcome aboard. As you sort of disappear through the door. And Paula, you and Averick are moving. You come straight out into this corridor that seems fairly ornately decorated. Everything seems to be mainly wooden, if not strangely made out of this almost marble-like stone, which doesn't really make sense considering this is an airborne thing. It seems very odd to have such a weighty substance on board, but there seems to be very much, they want it to look good rather than be super speedy. And you step into this corridor, and there's quite a few people on here. There seems to be people walking around with food or silver trays with coffee on. This seems to be a very almost like busy, bustling ship, almost like cruise liner-esque. You can hear music playing from some of the rooms, lots and lots of multiple doors. There is a set of wooden stairs that go up to another level of this ship. And Averick looks at you and he's like, okay, now what?
If anyone asks, we are representatives sent to greet our new visitors.
Oh God, and Averick just sort of immediately like starts he doesn't panic, but he's like, yeah, okay, yeah.
Representatives of the Academy. That's what we are.
I dropped out of the Academy.
It's fine. I work there. I've got it covered. I have my ID on me.
Do you know what? Fine. And he just starts like moving along. He's like, walk with confidence, and they won't even ask.
I'm
right?
really good at that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. And he sort of looks up and around for a moment. But as I said, it's bustling. You can see lots of people moving in and out of rooms. You can see a flight of stairs upwards, and this is weirdly a lot larger than it appears on the outside.
I mean, it looked pretty big on the outside, but it's even bigger on the inside, isn't it, Averick?
Yeah. Can we just go and have a look? I don't want to just stand in this corridor. Clyde's getting angry.
No, you're absolutely right. And I want to see what's up those stairs.
You'd say that. And he starts walking towards the stairs, which aren't spiral, but they do curve up and round. And you see this very ornately decorated banister. Everything is carved. Everything has something in it. And you have this... You get up to this next level and you can see another flight of stairs that goes up. It looks to be maybe only one more. There seems to be a long corridor with a set of rooms. And also has a turning off to the right into a smaller corridor. And you can really hear some bustling now. Like maybe it's a larger room, whether it's a dining hall or something to that effect.
So the sounds are coming from the corridor or from one of the rooms to the side?
It's so you've got the long corridor in front of you, and there seems to be a smaller corridor that goes off to the right, and it's down that corridor where there seems to be more. You do also see someone carrying a tray which is covered with like a sheet, like a small thing, just to keep it covered. And they look at you, they smile, and they start working their way up the stairs.
I want to look for the place that seems like the most likely place where someone would try, like where people would keep their secrets, kind of like, you know, like the small room that like no one was thinking about. Or
roll me an intellect check then, please.
I'm going to use an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so you see this man head up the stairs. It seems to be almost silent upstairs, and you can follow on the way up. And once again, you reach another sort of wooden floorboard, marble walls corridor with 2 doors. There's one that seems to be maybe literally almost exactly your height. And then there's another one that's much larger. He ducks down into the one that is just about your height, sort of slides in and closes the door.
I'm feeling curious, Averick.
He's like, you can see just like the pain on his face, like, I should have just, Tolan says never just sneak on, like, look but don't touch, but yeah.
Now, my only concern is that if we go in that room, and it's a small room, because it's a small door, and small doors tend to lead to small rooms, then we'll be in close quarters with someone that might not want us in there. On the other hand, we leave and it's a missed opportunity.
And he lets out this massive sigh. You can see that he's sort of freaked out. He keeps checking his phone, almost hoping Tolan texts back now, rather than what it was originally intended for. He's like, look, and as he starts to talk, that small door opens again. The man slides out. The tray is empty. Averick sort of shoves you, like, just out of the way as he both sort of, and grabs, like, Clyde round, sort of the scruff of his neck and drags you both to one side. It's like, and he walks past and back down the stairs.
Okay, now's our chance. And I kind of like rip myself out of Averick's hand, and
he's like, no. Like as you sort of run to, he doesn't seem too happy about going, but he follows you regardless. And you go into the small room. Okay. The rest of you, as you are walking aboard, you also see like these marble walls. You see a lot of like chandeliers, but very almost like 1920s feel to it. Everything is over the top. Everything is extremely decorated. You see a lot of crystal lamps on the wall that give a soft glow, almost a warming feeling to this corridor you've stepped into. And someone steps forward, very much like the person who checked the letter on the ship. A man smiles. He's like, welcome aboard the Valadria. I assuming you are
guests.
Yes. So are you first class, second class, or what sort of?
He holds out the letter.
And he's sort of like this man moves like a small pair of spectacles down and then knocks another set down.
The company has summoned us to travel with them back to Valadris.
Oh, then you want the meeting room. They want the meeting room. And he starts shuffling down the corridor and looks back. He's like, oh, come on.
Is there somewhere I can put my Sylvis and my wolf and my child?
Tuva looks up at you like,
child.
like is she sort of like just not, it's not a glare, it's like a questioning look. He's like, well, if you wish, I can give you rooms if you are planning to travel with us, of course.
Well, yes.
The meeting room's fine.
And he sort of
Meeting room
looks.
is fine.
Well,
Meeting
this
room
way
is
then.
fine.
This way then. And he sort of smiles, and he sort of taps on the side of the wall, which opens up, and there's almost like a netting of metal which he slides past to this elevator. As he holds it open, he's like, please, in. Silver's last, please. As Tuva sort of takes a step back.
Tolan steps on board, but looks very uncomfortable of all being put into this small room elevator thing with, yes, probably 1,000 pounds Silvis.
And
a wolf.
you see all of this. He's like, oh, hang on, let me just adjust the weight. And there's like a cog on the side, and he starts to turn it. And the cog glows brightly as this dial, these different colors. He's like, should be fine now.
Oh, now. Great. Lovely. Tolan.
And it's sort of, you'll get onto this elevator, and he slides it across, sort of like, sorry, excuse me, like around the Silvis as he slowly tries to close the netting. And then he knocks on the wall again, and the door closes. And there is awful, awful Valadrian elevator music. As would you just have that awkward silence as you all sort of go up?
Tolan probably harumphs.
Yeah. This man like holding the elevator is like, oh, it's so nice to be back in Karnan. Are you local to the area? He looks at all of you.
Yes.
Oh, I used to come here on my summer holidays. He's almost half talking to you, half daydreaming.
It is lovely. The season tree is quite lovely in the summertime.
I used to come here for the night market. Wonderful. I mean, Valadrius does the best night markets in my opinion, but I do like this one. Of course they do. They do. And it, again, over his head. Doesn't seem to clock.
If I could roll my eyes along as Jonathan rolls his eyes to that comment, that would be great.
And there's an awkward moment until you hear the bing. The door opens. He knocks on the wall again. The netting opens. Please, it's the door on the far at the very end. The two double doors.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. And he sort of gives a smile, knocks on the wall, and he slowly starts to descend back down.
I kind of look to see if we now have that was the only way in and out of this corridor.
This is not the only way in and out of the corridor. You see a set of stairs around the corner.
There's like a fire
get
exit
back
or
down.
something.
There
Yes.
is and on this level as well, you see a lot of windows. There seems to be a lot of windows. You can look out over Karnan. You seem to be not really high up, but pretty high up.
Like third story, fourth story building.
Yeah, like third story.
Okay.
You can look out over Karnan, the crowds. You can see the academy from here.
Is there any sign of Paula or Averick?
No. And Tuva's there with the silver. She's got this bag strapped to the front of her. She's like,
Are we going through the double doors then?
Well, I was hoping we could sort of get on our own to try to see where Paula and Averick have gotten to. If only there was a way to get the message.
I'm not.
and she looks for a moment, is like, do you know what? I'm not going to tell him. And starts to walk this Silvis Brenna.
I think Reese looks at Tuva and is like, do we tell him?
And she's like,
He's got to learn.
and she keeps walking down the corridor.
I look to Florence. Do your magic letters tell you where to go? Oh, I think Florence froze.
Florence has frozen. Oh, Florence is
there
back.
she is. He sort of, Tolan sort of looks at Florence and goes, Yoletta's found him. Can they happen to find Pola or Averick?
She's like dumbfounded, looking at Tolan, and then like looks at Reese and Tuba, and then finally back to Tolan. I apologize if this sounds rude, but are you often in a situation where you're separated from your friends by a distance, but you have an important communication to tell them, but no way to send it to them?
Well, yes, obviously, I'm in that situation right now.
Tuva just looks at Florence and smiles lightly, realizing she's now experiencing this for the first time.
Y'all are a delight.
I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. Tolan turns around and harumphs.
Like Tuva walks over, and if Florence lets her, takes her hand, is like, "Come on, through the double doors," and starts walking. This Silvus is like, it's making a like long stare eye contact with you, Tolan, and as you sort of harumph, it does the like and starts to walk
Right.
with you.
Tolan is quickly bonding with the Silvus.
As you both sort of walk towards this door. Pola, you have entered a room that is huge. It's very, very high ceilings, very, very wide. There's a very sort of wood lacquer smell in the room. You can see all the walls are carved with mountains, airships, Inarque, strange stone circles, plants, flora, fauna, and sort of images of cities. And there's a couple of velvet, sort of deep purple velvet sofas sat by what looks like a fireplace. Some crystal lamps sort of adorn the walls and glow this almost embossed, slightly wallpapery sort of along the top half from the middle of the wall up to the ceiling of just maps of the whole of Dunera. And there's bookcases everywhere, and they seem to move on their own, cataloguing themselves, rearranging themselves, just moving about. There's a table which is full of all of these bizarre little things. And there are two things in particular on this table that catch your eye, yay for trinkets. One of them, you see what looks like a very small silver makeup case. And Averick is sort of looking around as well. He doesn't look like he wants to touch anything, but Clyde's nose is on the table, and it sort of sniffs and snuffles around as it knocks something to the floor. Your other trinket, a small, almost completely clear glass cube, falls down to the floor. And as it does, light bursts from the top of it, and a projection of a city sort of swirls around the room, taking up almost the entire room, so that you stand almost at the center of it. You see people walking in the streets, these projections. You see these Inarque, you see these bizarre looking animals and creatures, not quite like anything you've seen before, these high-rise towers. And it's just circulating. And then pretty soon after that, Clyde knocks this compact onto the floor, which almost explodes in dust, and you can see it sort of make almost like a snow but a glittery effect through this projection. And as you see the powder in the compact break, it slowly reforms and seals itself back together.
Paula kind of like whips around towards Averick, her hair probably whipping him in the face as well.
Yeah, he's
and
like,
puts up and puts up her hand. We hit the jackpot, like for a high five.
He looks at you for a moment, looks at the high five, and it's like a really gentle, like, yeah, what do you mean by jackpot? What, you gonna take this stuff?
Oh, no. Well, all I mean is that this is the place I was looking for when I said that we need to sneak onto that airship.
Right. And he sort of looks at you slightly quizzical, but it's like, I mean, what is this place? It's weird.
Yeah, it is really weird. But it also seems like it has a lot of secrets and a lot of information.
I mean, what is this? And he sort of walks through this projection of this city. You see a small creature that almost looks rabbit-like in the face, but ears are extremely long. And it has, it's almost like a hare more than anything. With a very, very long tail and wings out the back as it runs into the city. These creatures that it's just not something you've seen before.
Maybe this is Valadria.
I mean, maybe. Either way, I feel uncomfortable being in here. It's not broken, is it? Clyde, would you get that out your mouth? And he's sort of like pulling the compact out of Clyde's mouth.
Wait, let me take a look at that real quick. And Paula will kind of just pretend that she's like analyzing it, and then she's like, I'll just save that for later, just in case. We'll find who it belongs to.
I think it's okay, fine, but I don't know. And he sort of looks at this hologram that is being projected from this cube. And there is a moment where you hear a sigh from behind you in the cube. The light closes as someone stands behind you in the room. A woman in a white suit, a very short bob of red hair, and she smiles at you. And you can see this magpie Inakwe sort of fly around from somewhere. You're not too sure if it came through the wall or if it came from somewhere else, and sat and just rests itself on her shoulder as she leans against the doorway. Found something you like?
Oh, no, I just, it seemed like it was lost and I just needed to give it a home. Hi, nice to meet you. I am a representative of the Karnan Academy of Magic.
And she smiles. She's like, you may look around if you want. There's nothing wrong with... In fact, I quite like an inquisitive nature. And she sort of pushes herself away from the wall, straightens, sort of brushes down this white suit. Averick looks like absolutely mortified that you've all been caught.
Yeah, Paula's definitely breaking a sweat too.
Yeah,
it's not like she's used to this kind of situation, but
she sort of, you see these very white pair of heels as well as they sort of click across the floorboards as she bends down to pick up the cube and holds it out to you. You can keep it if you want. I have a lot.
The cube?
Well, yes. This is what you were looking at. You seem fascinated.
Oh, yeah. I just didn't know if you saw me messing around with, you know what? Never mind. And Paula's trying to brush it off as if she doesn't know about this compact. But Paula picks up the cube. Is this Valadria?
It's old Valadria, yes. It's one of our histories. Sometimes it's easier to visualize things and just read them, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the Academy, we have more visual learners, as well as people who do better with hands-on experience. So, I'm well-rounded on my learning methods.
She holds out a hand for you to shake, and you see a a huge sapphire ring that sits on her finger. She holds it out, like, "My name is Elizabeth Moret. It is very nice to meet you."
It's really nice to meet you too, Miss Moret. And Paula's wearing a turtleneck, and she's kind of like pulling the turtleneck away from her because she's like really hot because she's really nervous, and this woman is really intimidating.
Yeah, she's like,
but
"What was your name?" "And you?" And Averick's like, Averick just nods. He's like, "This is Clyde." She's like, "It's a pleasure to meet you. And you, Miss
Packer. I'm Paula Packer of the
Did
universe.
you receive your letter?"
I'm not. I
sent
don't
a
get a
letter
lot of
just this
mail,
morning.
I recently moved.
Then maybe I
So-
got the address wrong.
You probably did. I'm sure my mom is looking for me right now with that
She's-
letter.
she's
Wait, why would
smiling.
you be sending me a letter? I don't know.
Well-
Wait, I don't know you. I'm sorry.
No, we don't really know each other at all. It's just you, she sort of walks over to where the fireplace is, and she presses a small button on the wall, and it just slides out to reveal a huge glass window that looks out over the church. You were a key witness.
Oh,
Because, it seems a lot has happened here in the last few days, and we're here to find out what's going on.
are you
And
part of
you,
some sort of inquisition or?
No, we're the company.
The company?
Yes.
Why would a company have interest in the church?
You see, we don't like the church. We have disagreements, I say. They don't tend to like, and she sort of glances over at Averick, magic users, and believe a lot more in the spirituality side of things. We are great believers in many things. Science, magic, they're both wonderful things. Knowledge is for everyone. And from the sounds of it, not too many great things have happened in this church over the last few years, and we want to find out about what's happened and make sure it doesn't happen again. Plus, and she sort of turns and puts her hands behind her back as this magpie sort of lands over on the desk and hops a few times. You have a very similar thing up in the sky that has just appeared over Valadria. And she looks up at the sort of big oil slick that's up in the sky. It's the third one I've seen now. And I want to know what it is. Completely, We strive for knowledge. We're seekers, we're explorers, investigators. And I want to know what that is. Because there's been a few records of things like this in books I've read from hundreds and hundreds, even some thousands of years ago. Very old books. And I want to know why they're popping up now. Don't you? And she looks back out at the window.
Pretty much from the point that that she said, we believe that knowledge is for everyone, Paula had her eyes lit up and she was like hanging on this woman's every word. And at the end of all that, Paula adamantly, yes, I stand for all of those things. I totally understand, and I've been looking for answers myself, although I haven't had much luck, and information is hard to come by in this city. So, I mean, and I work in the library, so that's saying something.
So you love books, do you, Paula?
I love books just about as much as I love my cat. Well, now my mom's
Do you
cat.
love your cat? Like, she looks mildly confused for a moment as she tips her head to the side, but then, and she turns around almost excitedly as she's taking off these white gloves off of her hands, and she sort of chucks them on the desk. Then you will love the library in Valadrian. Largest in the world. Contains some of the oldest documents.
You know, I've heard stories about it. I never imagined that I'd actually see it ever, but
Well,
I probably won't.
if you're coming to Valadria, which when I'm sure you read the letter, you can make the decision, then perhaps maybe I can take you there.
Wait, you want to take me all the way to Valadria?
When you get
Just because
the letter, you'll understand. In fact, I think it's on board.
Wait, but how did you contact the postman? I was just, like we just established, I recently moved. She can't know where I am.
She smiles just a little bit. I dropped off your letter at the post office this morning. And as she again sort of slowly, you see as if she looks elsewhere. I believe she's on board now. In fact, I think some of your other friends are. If you would like to go see them. I mean, feel free to have a look around this room if you wish.
I mean, will this room still be here later?
I'm not planning on having it demolished anytime soon.
Well, here's the thing about secret rooms is that sometimes they go disappear, and I've learned that lesson the hard way recently. But I mean,
why should
it's a long story, but
why should knowledge be a secret, Paula?
That is a very good question, and the answer is that it shouldn't.
She smiles. Then I think we should go and find your friends, as I believe they're in the meeting room.
After you.
She smiles. And she opens, she puts her white gloves back on and walks over to the door handle, turns it, opens the door. With her back, she goes, Averick, watch out for the low lamp, as you see him just about almost walk into it. And he's like, oh, thanks, I didn't even see it there. I know. And she steps out of the room and waits for you the other side.
As Paula and Averick are following behind, Paula will kind of like look over her shoulder at Averick and kind of mouth to him like, oh my god, she's awesome.
And he's just like he looks panicked. He looks still pretty panicked, but he does look fairly much in awe of the room you have just been in. And she steps out into the corridor and smiles. Please, follow me. And you hear the click of her heels as she starts to walk. This magpie, Inarque, very deep blues and blacks, almost like the feathers of a magpie, hovers sort of next to her before landing on her shoulder again. And that is where we're going to take our break very, very quickly. So people get up, stretch, bend, like hydrate, get yourself a drink. Otherwise, we will be back in just a moment. Bye. Oh, hi. We have Reese, Florence, Tolan, Tuva, and a gaggle of creatures walking down this corridor to these two huge doors. And Tuva's got hold of your hand, Florence, and is sort of smiling as we go. And she's like,
Do we knock or do we just go in?
I think we just go in.
Okay.
and she sort of puts her hand on the door handle of the one on the left and just opens it. You hear a little bit of a creak. It's not overly creaky, but she opens it and sort of pokes her head round. And she pushes the door open. As Brenna sort of comes and pushes the door open as well, this little red panda sort of slinks in. And you're almost hit by the warmth of the room. It's an open fire sits at the back of this wooden paneled room. There's marble stone, it's like a marble stone floor. And it's a fairly large room. There is a huge table at the center with chairs around it, high back chairs with velvet sort of adorning them. There's a crystal glass decanter on one of the tables. There's a huge armchair sat in front with its back to you by the fire. A couple of bookcases, you see a globe, you see maps, you see all of these bizarre little trinkets sort of everywhere in this room. And you see smoke from sort of like a purplish smoke coming from the chair, and a huge mechanical hand holding the cigar resting on the armrest. And this man jumps up, the one you saw before, particularly you, Reese, on the beach. He's got a very smiley face, that sort of dark stubble, very square jaw, smiles, still in his uniform, hat no longer on. You can see it hung up on the side. He's like, didn't I park my ship on your beach? And he sort of turns over and looks at Reese.
I think Reese just gives him a quick smile, and then he turns to the rest of everyone. It's everyone, Axel, everyone.
Hello, Axel Cartwright. And he sort of walks over, he grabs your hand, Tolan, with this big, huge mechanical, and you feel it close around as he shakes very firmly, like pats you on the hand, his other very human hand.
As he does, Tolan immediately starts examining the hand. This is quite an impressive piece of work here. So, magic hydraulic actuation, or is it using gear rights and other arcane means for its power? Is it? Do you have an Inokwe? How does it feel about it? And just starts going into questions.
Yeah, you sort of turn over. He lets you turn over his hand whilst you're holding it and look at his, and he sort of moves his fingers to show you all the bits as they move. He's like, very much hydraulic, a little bit of magic woven in, but that's probably due to Nava over there. And you see sort of this lynx stand up from sitting by the fire. These sort of long wispy ears as it pads over and sits next to Axel, and you see that purple sort of glow swirl in between some of the mechanisms as he moves it. It's a bit clunky, but it's getting there, isn't it? And this lynx just sort of closes its eyes briefly, and you hear a purr as it comes a little bit closer. And he's like, sorry, where are my manners? I met you over breakfast. And he gives you almost like a slap on the back. He walks over to Florence. Is just like, good morning, ma'am, miss, what would you prefer?
Miss is perfect. I'm Florence Fetlock, and I'm here to do a delivery. I promise I will get out of all of your hair as soon as that happens.
Ah, of course you are. And he sort of almost looks like he's going to go slap you on the back, and then sort of restrains himself. He stands very tall. He's not broad. He's just big, like all over. He's just very square. And he he's got a really big smile on his face. You can see like the smile and the wrinkle, like the happy lines. And he sort of looks down for a moment at Tuva, and he's just like, oh, I wasn't aware a child was coming on board. And he sort of pauses for a moment and then looks up at this Silvus that is eyeing up some of the books that Tuva's trying to pull away from the bookcase. And at the same time keep control of this rucksack that seems to be moving around on the front of her. And she just looks at him. There's no real conversation, but she holds out her tiny little hand in this oversized jacket like, Tuva. And he's like, hello, Tuva. And takes it like very gently. You can see he switches out for his human hand to shake her hand. And he looks to all of you and he claps his hand together, and it's very, you almost hear like a tang. As you can see, there's a ring on his thumb that hits the metal hand. He's like, can I get you a drink? What would you like? Tea, coffee, hot chocolate? As he sort of looks down Tuva briefly. Please take a seat, have a look around. I know, yes, whatever. You're muted, friend.
You have us at a bit of a disadvantage. We were summoned by the company.
The letters, of course. Please, come sit down. And he sort of pulls out some of the big, huge back chairs at the table. Yes, you were all summoned because you're all witnesses.
Yes. What is your interest in what we might have witnessed?
Well, I want to know what happened at the church. And, he hits on the wall, and again, huge window, like one of the whole of the walls disappears. All the books slide away, almost like they're a curtain. And and points to the big oil slick in the sky.
Yes, that is quite interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And he sort of like takes a drag on this cigar. He's like, does anyone else want one? And as this purple smoke leaves, and you see a small sort of image of a rabbit in the smoke dance away above his head.
I have a storyteller friend who would find those quite fun.
Oh, they're great. You pick which animal you want, and yes.
I sort of am not wanting to divulge too much information. So I'm sort of looking around to Reese and Florence just because she's there. This postal worker is needing to deliver some of our companions their passage documents. The letters.
Oh, the rest of you. Yes. I think they're actually on board. I believe my companion is bringing them here now. What was this for a moment? Yes, no, I believe they're on their way.
And Florence perks up at that. She sort of politely removed herself from some of this conversation proper. She's kind of pretending not to listen, doing some of the like classic customer service thing where maybe you're like checking out someone's items while a couple's having a conversation at the checkout, just like, yep, doing my job. But when she hears that the others are coming, she nods again at Axel. Ah, perfect. As soon as I can deliver there, I suppose it must be more passage documents. I'll get out of your way.
Oh, of course. Stay as long as you want. It's all fine. It's all good. Join us for dinner. You should join us for dinner. We have dinner at lunchtime because, it's much easier to... And he starts to ramble on at himself for a moment, and then he pauses and he turns, and he seems to be very dramatic in his movements with the big sort of gestures, especially with this metal arm, which he seems to over-gesture with, probably because he's still not fully used to it. He's like, you said you were Tollem Folk, didn't you? Or did you? Are you Tollem Folk?
I didn't say, but yes, I am.
I have something for you. Have something. Friend told me to give it to you. And he starts going
What
through all of
friend?
these drawers. Man named Ivan, big bushy beard, like, hats and everything
Blonde
like
gentleman,
that.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, I would be very interested if Ivan has another something to give me.
Yes.
His last something was quite surprising.
Yes. He pauses. This all goes over to the drawer. He said, we did recover a few things from the church in general, so I will bring those in once my friend gets here. However,
You've
these
been in the ruins.
I have. Interesting. The debris just stays there.
We noticed that.
Yes, it doesn't move. Interesting.
Yes.
Even when you throw things at it, doesn't move it. Anyway, and he sort of reaches into a drawer and he pulls out this very small leather bag. Yes. There you are. Goodness knows what it means. And you can feel something in it.
He opens it up. Very curious, seeing as Ivan was the one who gave him what turned out to be the egg. So looks in. What's in the bag? What's in the box?
What's in the box? You tip what's out of the bag into your hand. There's like these 12 dice. And each one seems to have a different color. You're not too sure what the stone is they're made out of. And there doesn't seem to be any symbols or numbers or anything on the sides. Each one is a different shape. But there is not a single symbol on any of them.
That Ivan is always full of surprises.
I don't know what he said. He just said a gift from a friend to a friend and now to a new one. So I don't know what that means, but he's always a mysterious type.
I'll keep them for a special occasion, Tolan sort of says, and puts them into one of his many big sort of pouch pockets that's on his jacket that he always wears.
He smiles. Please, take a seat. They'll be here probably any minute. I am going to have a coffee. And he starts sort of moving over, and there's this huge silver, like very elaborate decorative, like coffee pot, which is massive. And he starts to pour, and you can see it steam. He's like, does anyone else want anything?
I think as soon as the smell of the coffee hits, Tolan sort of drifts that direction.
Yeah, it's like, coffee. Miss Florence, did you want coffee? I can do tea.
No, I must go as soon as I've delivered these, but thank you.
No problem. And he again sort of smiles. And you, sir, and looks over to Reese.
I think Reese is pulling up a chair, and when the coffee's offered, he's like, you know what, Axel? Yeah, coffee and a cigar sounds real nice right now.
Fantastic. And he sort of slides a box along the table to you. You can see these huge cigars. Each one has a different colored band around it, around the center, with an image of an animal on each one. And there is also, he starts handing out these coffees. And as he does, Paula, you arrive at this door, and this woman with this magpie just opens both of them, throws them open, and the rest of you in the room see this woman in a white suit, bob of red hair. You see Paula behind her, this flourish of magpie that immediately flies over and lands on the top of the mantelpiece. You see Averick and Clyde. Averick is a little bit sheepish as soon as he sees you, Tolan. And she looks over at all of you. It's like, I believe I found the other one. And looks down at Paula and then briefly to the others. Hello. It is wonderful to meet you all. My name is Elizabeth Moret, but you can call me Elizabeth if it would make you more comfortable. And who might all of you be? I know I sent out letters, but I'd love to know names to faces. And she smiles.
Paula will just kind of like peek but and like wave like, hey guys.
Tolan is staring daggers at Averick, trying to pick up on any piece of information.
Just like trying to avoid your eye contact at all cost. But Clyde is doing that sort of adoring look in your direction, so
I'm Tolan Falcon. I see you've met my apprentice. We have your documents, and he gestures to Florence.
Oh, it's you again! What a delight! I see you carry your job out rather efficiently. You not only delivered the letters, but you brought them to me.
Indeed. I mean, Valadrians does a lot of things just absolutely top-notch, but nothing will ever beat the Karnan Post. And then she'll turn her attention to Pola and Averick. Could I please have y'all state your names?
I'm Paula Packer.
Perfect. And then she'll look at the Averick presumptively.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm Averick.
You really are the other one's apprentice, aren't you? And then she'll pull the letters addressed to Paula Packer and Averick and give them first the letters and then also the paperwork for signage. I apologize for the formalities.
Scribbles down again, like he's he's sort of looking towards Tolan to see if he's trying to work out if Tolan's angry or if Tolan is like, what have you touched? Like it's that sort of thing. But he signs it and then he sort of hardly goes to sit down at the table.
When Paula signs, she can tell that Elizabeth seems to be this type to have like a fancy signature and kind of wants to like show off and like, like that she's like classy, just like the rest of them. So Paula will do like a big fancy signature that probably doesn't look like too neat because she usually is like scribbling notes and whatnot. Which I just want to have like a funny side note. I actually signed Paula's name.
You did.
At PAX Unplugged on like the cantrip banner where you could sign your characters' names, and I accidentally wrote Palma instead of Paula.
That was good.
Because like I did the L's upside down because I was trying to be like fancy and make loops. So that's what Paula writes. She writes Palma instead of Paula.
And yeah, you sign these letters and you can hand them back to Florence.
Florence like looks down at it and then up again and then down at it and then up again and then over at Liz and is like, I really should get her to re-sign these, but thank you very much. I really do appreciate all of your willingness to accept these in person and not quite at your addresses. This has saved me quite a bit of time today. Only one more letter left to go. Anyways, I guess I'll be singing myself out.
Yes, could I speak to you outside, please, Florence? As Elizabeth sort of turns and walks out of the room.
Sure.
And Paula, you can see this huge man, Axel Cartwright, comes over, big mechanical hand, goes like, Axel Cartwright, and holds his hand out.
Pleasure to meet you, Axel. I am Paula Packer, representing the Karnan Academy of Magic.
Well, isn't that fantastic? Now, would you like coffee, tea, or cigar? Or both? I do have cake somewhere. Like, and he sort of like, you can see a small glass dome that has this very thick cake.
I'll go for some coffee. I'll go for some coffee and cake.
Fantastic. And he sort of walks over, he starts pouring the coffee. He pours the glass sort of decanter, holds it out to his Anarque, who holds it very delicately in her teeth while he sort of flicks one of his fingers and a knife comes out and he cuts it. This huge sort of like slice of cake before popping it on like this very, again, decorative plate. And hands it to you. and places your coffee on the table. Please sit down, eat, enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Any questions you may have, I believe you're all here now. We had some things recovered from the church, which I believe are some of yours or belong to you. And he walks over and takes a box off of one of the tables, slides it across, undoes the latch, opens it. Inside is a velvet cushion, and there are 2 compasses on the box, or in the box, I should say. Yours, I believe.
Yes. Here's a quick question. Can we tell which one is which? Or are they identical?
On the top, they look identical.
Okay. I'll open one of them to see if I can see that the dials or if it's pointing, because I think that Toll would have looking at enough to know which direction is pointed.
Yeah, you sort of pick it up, and as you touch it, it starts to glow. Just briefly. And if you touch the other one, nothing happens.
I'm guessing that one's yours then.
Yes. That one must be yours.
And Paula will pick up the other compass.
And it starts to glow very briefly. It's almost like a pulse of light. It doesn't actually stay glowing, but you can tell it's yours.
Well, this puts everything in a different light.
So you guys were just digging through the ruins and came across these, or?
No, we actually arrested some members of the church, and some of them, there was one in particular trying to make a little bit of a getaway. And,
Wait, did you arrest the twins? Or siblings?
No, I don't know. We couldn't find them, but we have the seers on board.
The seers are on board this ship.
They are. Well, not this one. They're on the one. And he sort of gestures, and you can see one a lot more up in the air, but still tethered to the ground. They are. It appears, and he sort of like leans forward and rests his very human hand in his metal, almost robotic one, smiles, sort of putting out his cigar, sitting in this other chair. The church seem to have been performing things that they really shouldn't have been doing. So they're going to go to Valadrian and face trial.
Valadris has jurisdiction in such matters, even here in Karnan.
It does when it starts to affect humanity.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, I believe at least 1 or 2 of you have been in contact with the seers before. They do not have an Inarque. They were using their magic from elsewhere. It is unclear exactly what for, but we want to know. A lot of dark things happened in that church, and we want to know about it, so that things like this can't happen again.
As much as I agree with you that the church seems to have been up to no good, it does also seem very odd for not only Valadrians, but a company to waltz into Karnan with this air of authority when I've never met a well, actually maybe that one time at the night market, but there's not like we see Valadrians around here every day.
No, we are in fact one of the main sponsors of the academy here in Karnan. and finding their links to the church is rather troubling, what our funds for knowledge may have been used for. We have provided some artifacts to the Academy as well. He smiles for a moment, pauses, sort of looks around the room. We've provided some information and research, and we now fear that the Academy and the Church may have crossed lines.
I do not believe your thoughts are unfounded.
One thing that we find particularly, I would say, interesting is there appears to have been a secondary schooling program within the church. Something we are, again, looking into. The parentless children.
We bumped into one of their classes. Have you perhaps been able to capture is such an ugly word, but I believe it's the only right one. These shadow people, these that were attacking others around the city on the night that this all happened. They are quite peculiar.
Yes, we have seen one or two of those, or had at least reports. I've never seen one myself around Valadrius and also other parts of Dunera itself. However, not quite in such a large manifestation. I'm not too sure exactly why they accumulate here, or if here they are man-made. It is not something we have found yet. They seem to have disappeared. But be sure we are looking for them.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this is the time or place, but I do believe that they were being somehow made here in Karnan, as one of them still had some remnants of a former student of mine and is potentially still out there.
We have seen certain experiments before, or what happens to individuals who lose their Inarque and what they can become if they hold on for too long. However, what we are concerned about is the what if it was the opposite of that? What if you take away the individual from the Inarque instead? Each a half of each other. It is devastating when individuals lose an Inarque. Some people go mad. They don't tend to survive very long when it happens. But we never look into what happens to the Inarque when their other half, their human half, is taken from them. And he does sort of look over at Tolan very briefly.
Tolan definitely does not look him in the eye, sort of his eyes dart away.
He doesn't linger there, it's more of a passing glance.
In some of my travels, I've seen Inarque in some of the old ruins that lingered, but as you say, not necessarily ones that were separated. I've always wondered what they represented, though. The ones that were left behind. We've had quite a few in Karnan. They migrate to the season tree and then re-enter the magic, the well that it represents.
and you can see he's very much listening to every word you say. This man is listening to everything. He's watching every movement everyone makes. He's taking in all information. And there is a soft smile. There are so many things we don't know about the world, about this incident. You have all been invited to Valadria because we wish to find out more. And for some reason, this seems to be centered particularly around all of you. There is also, however, one other individual we can't seem to locate, which is a bit of a problem. Do you know the whereabouts of Charlie?
Yikes. I mean, if you find out anything about Charlie's whereabouts, feel free to let me know, because I'm at a loss.
Tolan, I think, walks over to the window and looks down at, the ruins of the church, where all of that debris and rubble from the roof and columns is still sort of suspended, like it's in stasis. I think in some ways she's still down there.
You believe she is the cause of the suspensions?
Her power, her magic, it was raw, powerful, untamed, and beautiful. Both destruction and creation, and he is trying his hardest not to look at that rucksack, all wrapped up in one.
Tuva almost feels that she sort of crosses her arms over the front of this rucksack. She, I look back over her academy information. It looks like she left very, very early. Dropped out due to an accident. When you say she had power, I don't think we realized quite how much until it was too late.
She visited my shop once, and just her curiosity began to bind magic to some of the inventions that I had, often overloading them, no matter the amount of power they required. I've only seen a phenomenon like that one other time. As he thinks back at the Guardians, overloading the magics around them, but he doesn't mention it.
And he smiles. And it is a genuine sort of happy smile as he sort of listens to you talk about Charlie. And slowly he turns back and he looks to Reese. I have not seen a red wolf in a long time. And sort of casts his eyes over Astrid, who is currently looks asleep, like this huge muzzle resting on these massive paws, but she's definitely watching Nava, this lynx, who's kind of lying opposite her. They're just gazing at each other. And he looks over to you. Apparently, so I've read, a red wolf does not seek out a companion unless they are in great need. And there's questioning eyes, but he doesn't say anything.
Well, I've had her for a long time, so based on what you read at some point, I had a great need.
And he smiles and leans forward. Don't we all? Don't we all? And he sort of stands up and goes over to stoke the fire. And meanwhile in the corridor, Florence, Elizabeth walks out. She closes the doors behind both of you and turns around. And she's got that smile on her face. And she's like, Florence Fetlock. Okay. Now, Fetlock. That is a name that does not belong to Carnan.
If you say so.
Did you grow up in Carnan?
No, I told you when we met before. I've been here for about 2 or 3 years now. The time kind of slips away.
Yes. It's, and she smiles. A Valadrian name, isn't it?
There are many in Valadria who share the same last name as I do, so in a way, yes. And by my living in Carnan, it also makes it a Carnan last name.
I suppose you're right. I mean, I myself am not originally from Valadria, so I'm not from Carnan either. We do all seem to move around a lot. And she sort of looks over at your little bat that settles on the back of your hood. And she takes off her gloves and holds out her hands. It's like, may I hold your hands?
May I ask why first?
Of course. And she opens a door into a much smaller room and sort of gestures for you to come in so you're not stood in the corridor. And it's almost like a study. This is a tiny little study. She's like, I want to know what you do.
Florence's eyes sparkle for a second as Liz says that the Florence who has been living in Carnan for about 3 years would have said no to that outright. But today's been interesting, and overhearing bits and pieces of the conversations had by these people has kind of stirred something in her that hasn't been awake for a long time. So Biddy kind of pops her cute little furry head out from behind Florence, looks up at Liz and chitters for a second before Florence just quietly nods and steps into the study.
And you see Elizabeth say, you don't have to, of course. I'm just intrigued. And I sense there's something a bit more to you than a postal service worker.
We all have a day job.
Is opening other people's letters part of your day job?
Without skipping a beat, without blinking, she looks this woman dead in the eyes and says, I have no idea what you're talking about.
And she laughs very happily, like this seems like genuine happiness. She's like, please take a seat. And she holds her hands out. You can say no.
Florence ponders for a second, and the words Liz said, I want to know what's going on with you. And I think Florence has been asking that same question of herself. And she kind of hears those words in her head again as she puts her hands out.
And before they sort of touch, she's like, the letter thing, your secret's safe with me. And
I still have no idea what you're talking about.
And there's like that little chuckle as she doesn't like grab your hand. She literally lets you rest your hands in hers. And you see her close her eyes briefly. And you feel your hands suddenly get very, very warm. It's a very cozy feeling. And For a moment, the room you're sat in falls away. You're stood on a cliff. There is a breeze, like an ocean breeze that it's like you can taste the salt in the air. You can feel the cool breeze. It's actually a very welcoming feeling. You see the laughter of children, like teenagers, jumping off into the water, diving off. You can hear the chatter of some parents that are sitting there. Some of them have like a picnic, and you see yourself walking along this cliff face, looking down at a tiny little village, half of it built on stilts, half of it built into the cliffside. And this booming, almost like thunder of waves hitting the beaches, hitting the rocks. And you feel calm, and you smile for a moment, but you think it's actually Elizabeth smiling. And then there's a moment where you look out to the ocean and your chest tenses up as if you gasp, and you're back in this room, and her eyes are still closed and her brow is tense. You actually can see some sweat running down the side of her face, and she just quickly drops your hands. Sorry. And she takes like a handkerchief out from her pocket and just dabs her brow. You have a very interesting talent.
What did you just learn? What is it about my talent you now know?
I think it's something you'd rather not discuss.
So nothing I don't know.
Nothing
All
you
right,
don't
then.
know. And since I know a little bit about you, I am Elizabeth Moret, and I have the gift of foresight. Sometimes I see things, sometimes I don't. It's like getting a peek into someone's life. You never know what you're going to see, but she sort of half smiles. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's downright confusing. But... and she pauses again for a moment. I think you have a very special talent. You should stop running. But you don't know what I'm talking about.
No. Let's say I don't.
And she nods, and she gives you a smile that seems like a very friendly, you can see the sad sort of smile to it. Would you come to Valadria with me? And if you say no, I can always write a letter for you to deliver there for me.
Letters aside, I think I'm happy staying in Karnan for now. You know I'm not from here, which means I'm making a choice to be here.
She does a slow nod. That's fair enough. I'm making a choice to be here. You may go. And she stands up and she opens the door.
How specific is your foresight?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Florence nods. I think Biddy unhooks from her back little capelet and sails down the hallway ahead of Florence as she starts walking out the way she came.
And she sort of flicks something in your direction, and it's just a card, and it sort of flies almost incomplete. completely into your hand. If you would like to call, that's where you find me.
And Florence might like claps it out of the air.
Yeah, you catch it like straight away.
It's not, it doesn't look cool, but it gets the card. I'll make sure not to lose it.
And she smiles. Have a safe trip, Florence.
You too.
And she starts to walk in the opposite direction, back into the main room. Where do you go, Florence?
She has one more letter to deliver, so she's going to start going to Aggie's home.
Mm-hmm. And you leave the airship the way you came. You see that smiling blonde sort of guard. The eye whirs a little bit as you can hear it move. And you sort of push your way through the crowds. And there is a large crowd. Some of it has dispersed a little bit, but you start to weave your way through, and you head down the quieter streets, the cobbled streets, down by the waterways. It's coming up to lunchtime, so this area seems to be a lot clearer. And you know Aggie's house. You can hear a bustle on the inside, and you see two cats pressed up against the window as you approach.
Florence will get out that final letter, as well as the paperwork, and she'll stroll up to Aggie's place and wrap her hand on the back of the door. She needs a signature for these ones.
And you see these two cats jump off the windowsill, start thundering towards the door, as you hear this little old lady, I'm coming, I'm coming. And the door handle turns. And back on the airship, Tolan, Paula, and Reese. Tuva is currently sat at the edge of the table, legs swinging. She's trying to eat this piece of cake. The Sylvis is trying to dive in as well, but doesn't seem to be getting a look in. You can see her slowly taking chunks off the cake when she thinks you're not looking and shoving it into the rucksack, where you see it sort of move a little bit. And Elizabeth Moret comes back into the room, smiles, sighs, putting on her gloves again. And it's like, right, hello. I'm not too sure how much you've been told, but of course you are allowed free passage over to Valadrian on the ship. We leave in 2 to 3 days, depending on weather. If you wish to make your own way there, then of course you may. We do have rooms for you, all accommodating. I can make a room available for, was it Tuva? And she's just like, like as she's like got a mouthful of cake. I can make that available as well. Which one of you are her guardians?
Oh, none of us.
None of us are.
Right, okay. Is there someone I need to speak to?
Yes.
Yes. Tuva's mother can be a handful when she's not consulted on Tuva's whereabouts.
Right, that would be, and
Jin's Oodles.
Oh, that delightful little ramen shop down the way.
Yes.
Oh, goodness, I love it there. And like Tuva's like waving the fork around, like, it was really good. And so is this. Get out, like pushing the Sylvis out of the way. So, well, if Tuva wishes to come along, I see no reason to stop her as long as there is all, as long as it's all worked out with her mother.
Tolan is kind of like looking back and forth between Reese and Paula, and like,
Elizabeth is incredibly relaxed, you realize. In fact, you sort of think probably a lot of these Valadrians are.
You know, I respect your dedication to finding answers. But for y'all just to waltz in here and then subpoena us from our lives to testify in your case
I'm afraid
at the last minute,
very serious matter.
with 2 days notice, a little thoughtless.
As I said, you can make your own way there. You have plenty of time. I'm merely offering it because we're here now.
I mean, I honestly don't know that I can just pick up and leave in 2 days. I have a library that needs to be run, and my uncle was recently injured, and you know, and my other friend was recently injured and is healing, and I just don't know that now's a great time.
Which is absolutely fair. We do not expect to see you, or at least have some questions answered, until probably a week or so, giving you plenty of time to travel. We can escort you straight back here. It is not for the need of knowledge, but more for the need of, we want to know what's been going on, because the reports of people disappearing into the church are very unnerving.
Well, on that note, one of my friends that I mentioned that was injured happens to be the archdeacon of said church, and might know a thing or two about the questions that you have.
In
that
fact,
I think we all have.
We are due to send one of our people round there later. Once he is well enough, he too will be headed to Valadris.
Not as a prisoner, though, like the Seekers, right? No.
Oh, goodness, no. The Seekers the Seers are only
Seers
there because of the reason they have their abilities.
Yeah, the archdeacon definitely doesn't have any abilities, that's for sure, except for being a smooth talker, that one.
Tolan rolls his eyes.
Also, if you don't mind me asking, how did you know that these compasses were ours?
Because your name's on the back.
And Paula flips over the compass, probably
Tolan
for the first time
too.
ever.
It looks... Your names are on the back.
That's
like,
new.
as if they've been very, very thin, as if like a thin nib pen, but it's carved into the back, into this brass. Did you not know that before?
Don't believe it was there before, but
It's very odd.
it's very...
This is interesting. And she does look genuinely interested by this.
How did you know we were in the church?
Reports. Lots of people saw what happened. And there is, we've had some people say you were involved with the church, not to cause any issue. We have no issue with any of you, but we have heard, Tolan, that you have had issues with the church before. Paula, your mother, worked with the church. And Reese, when a huge red wolf turns up in Kanan, it is not missed.
Is my mom going to Valadris?
We haven't actually discussed that yet. However, if you would like her to accompany you, you may.
I'm gonna have to pass on that. But thanks for the offer.
And she just smiles.
Well,
is there any questions you have for us? We want to be as open with you as you are with us. And you can see Axel sort of relax back into his seat by the fire, but he sort of turned it round, whereas Elizabeth takes a seat at the same table that you have.
I had some equipment that I had secured in a lab that I believe might have been involved with some of the church's most recent activities. But was anything of an artifact nature recovered from your going into the ruins below?
Many things were recovered from the church. You are very welcome to go through what we have found to see if any of it belongs to you.
It would be much appreciated.
Of course. It is on one of the other airships, and she sort of like gestures out to one of them, just across the way. I believe it is on that one.
Yes, there are some of my inventions that need to be treated delicately. In fact, I think some of he just sort of drifts off as he says that.
Well, if you would like to have a look or have a rummage, I can absolutely arrange that for you to go over there and have a look.
Yes, myself and my apprentice, Averick, please.
Averick sort of gives you a nod. She's like, I can arrange that for you for later today if that would be something of interest for you.
Yes, please.
It's just to let them know you're coming.
Oh,
Can't just let anyone wander in.
Well, you shouldn't. You truly shouldn't.
No problem at all. And would any of the other of you, do you have any other questions? I would really, very gladly answer them.
What exactly are the charges against the church, and what kind of consequences could they be facing as a result of our testimonies?
They will be stripped of their titles and positions of power. They are charged with neglect and, I suppose, hiding information that can be damaging. Of course, everyone is allowed their secrets, but when it starts to affect the people and when people start disappearing, it's an interesting one, especially because a lot of the disappearances that have happened have made us reopen cases from many years ago.
Paula, they've endangered the city. The trams fell out of the sky. Those shadows, which were congregating all around the church.
I just want to know exactly what we're getting into, Talon. It's my asking questions I'm not trying to imply that I think that the church is in the right. I just want to make sure that I understand what we're getting into. Speaking of the trams, do you happen to know anything about why that happened, why the outages kept happening? What was that connected to the goings-ons of the church?
We do not know as of yet. We are treating that as a separate incident. However, we are not ruling it out. There has been a lot of different fluctuations in power and magic over the last week or so, and we can't rule anything out. We have a lot of transport in Valadria, as you will see, most of it run by magic itself, and magic doesn't just cut out in the air. And as you can assume, we are a little bit concerned, considering most of our transport is run by these sorts of things, and we can't be doing with things just falling out of the sky.
No, definitely not. You know, personally, for me, this was a lot of information to take in, and there's been a lot going on this week. I mean, if you're going to be in town the next couple days, I think I needed a little bit of time to process all of this, and to maybe talk with some of the people in my life to see if this makes sense for me right now. I don't know about the rest of you guys, looking towards Talon and Reese and Tuva, but this is kind of a lot.
I had my concerns, and anything to uncover anything that uncovers more details about what the church was up to and why is of great interest to me. Especially if it's connected to the artifact that I have knowledge of.
You can see that Axel stands and looks over to Tolan. I can always escort you over there now if you would like to get this over and done with.
I don't want to be a bother, but...
Oh, no, not a bother at all. And he just quickly, drains this cup of coffee. And he's just like, Elizabeth, are you okay with all of them here? And she's just waves him and smiles.
Averick, can you assist?
I'm good. I can do this.
Well, let's see if we can find out if anything looks familiar, or help piece together some of the puzzle pieces we have with perhaps some that you have. He looks to Axel.
And he gives you a very big, toothy grin. He's like, absolutely, this way. And he starts heading back out through the double doors and heads you back towards the exit of the airship. And Elizabeth looks to both Paula and Reese. You are very welcome to either stay aboard. You're also welcome to leave. I have put your names down as they are on the letters. You may come on board and off board anytime you wish.
I appreciate the offer, but I have a place where I'm staying right now. It's actually a very nice place. Thinking back to her disgustingly messy motel room in a seedy back alley. I do appreciate the gesture.
He smiles. No problem at all. And She looks over to Reese. And the same for you.
I also appreciate it. I don't have a permanent place here, but I do think, like Paula said, that it requires some thought and discussion. And, well, Paula, we should probably get Tuva back to Jin.
That's definitely something we should do. Isn't that right, Tuva? And Paula kind of puts her hands on her knees and crouches down.
And there's a moment where Tuva looks up. You can see like that cake around her mouth. The Sylvis looks up at you at the same time as she does, as well as Brenna. You hear stirring in this rucksack. You're like, oh, yeah, Mom's probably going to be worried about right now anyway. So she sort of like hops off the chair. She's like, thanks for the cake, and starts making her way out without really saying anything.
I do have one question, though, Elizabeth.
Of course.
What are you going to do with all the orphaned children?
We have given them an option, and we're working with the academy that they can either be housed there, or they may come back to Valadrians and be housed there. It is purely down to them.
Okay.
Whatever makes them comfortable. And bizarrely, they do seem to have no parents, any of them. Untraceable. Not a single link at all. But if we can find them, we'll find them. Because every child comes from somewhere.
I think he just keeps nodding, and he's like, that was a good enough answer for me. Thank you for your hospitality. I'm sure we'll speak to you again soon.
Of course. I will be around. I hear there's a delightful coffee shop somewhere on the corner.
Oh, that's probably Bruin Bindings. It's a great place. Highly recommend it.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's run by Talon's apprentice, Averick.
Oh, I had no idea. Well, then I'll have
yeah.
to pop in.
Definitely should. It's great place to just pick up a book and enjoy your nice morning cup of joe. Well, this was a nice chat, but like Reese said, I think I should be off as well. And a lot to do and a lot to think about.
Of course, please. And she sort of shows you the way out. And we're going to hop over to Florence. Florence, you knock on the door, and this lady you know very, very well looks a bit different than usual. She's in sort of a shirt with a cardigan pulled over the top. Her hair is loose for once in this big sort of thick, almost silver white plait. And she's got these very thick, fluffy socks on. She's like, "Oh, hello, dear. I have biscuits." And she's like, come in. And she sort of like just ushers in, like, get out of the way, like as these two cats sort of try and get around you and her.
Oh, I usually, I can't refuse your biscuits, and that usually I would have to say no, but I have a letter for you, and it's the last one for the day, so I can actually stay for a bit for once.
And tea. That means you can have tea as well. And she starts sort of like hobbling over to the stove, and you can see the kettle go on. You can see that the back stable door is open. You feel like a very fresh, sort of much cooler breeze coming through. And She smiles to you and sort of gestures to this very high stool by a very high chair, both piled up with cushions. It's like, so, what brings you here? I hear there's some sort of Valadrians out in the, well, they've probably come to cause trouble, that's all I can say, because Valadrians.
And you literally could have said anywhere around town that they're hanging out, and it would have been true. But let's get formalities out of the way first.
Yes,
Can
yes.
you confirm that you are Aggie Ellis?
I can indeed.
I do need you to sign this, and Florence will hand over the beautiful letter that was definitely never opened by anyone, and will also then hand over the paperwork for a quick signature.
Yeah, she sort of smiles, pulls out a pair of glasses, and starts to you hear that scratch of a pen as she writes it down. It's like, there we go. Now all that's done out the way. Oh God, they want me to go all the way to Valadria.
I hear they've got a ship, or an airship anyways, that'll do it in a fraction of the time. You know, it's like a 2-week by boat.
Ugh, makes me airsick. I'm not actually that big a flyer on those things. They're awfully rocky.
You've been on one?
Once. I think it was like a prototype or something. Wasn't great. On there for 10 minutes and nauseous.
I was on one a little bit earlier. It was docked, but it was a beautiful machine. First time, I'd seen one a few times back when I would pass through Valadris every once in a while, but never been on one before.
I don't know if I fancy going on one again, but if I have to, I have to. Valadria is a wonderful place, you know, though. There's just so much there. I used to spend a lot of my younger days there with Tom.
It was always nice to pass through.
Tom. Ah, yes, of course. You've been there as well. I often forget that. How are you doing these days?
I usually say okay, and that's usually true. I've been a bit shaky, maybe not quite myself, or maybe an old self after whatever happened at the church. Aggie, you're not involved with whatever happened at the church, are you?
And
you must be.
There's a moment where she smiles as she pushes a tin of biscuits over just in front of you. Now, what would ever give you that idea?
It's it's nothing you've said, but it's a lot of things you've come close to saying, and some of those stories you've told about Tom. I'm not accusing you of being involved with whatever happened at the church, but I'm saying it wouldn't have surprised me, even before you opened that letter.
She smiles. I do have an interest in Valadria, in the church, and I may have been there. But you know, I'm very old, my memory's very poor, I don't always remember everything. And she gives you a smile.
I wish I had so convenient an excuse. I don't believe it for a second from you, Aggie, but damn it if it isn't good.
And she gives you a smile as she starts to pour you some tea. And Tolan, you are shown onto this airship. It is very much like the other one, except it seems to be just 2 huge rooms for storage. It doesn't seem to have anywhere other than the general things that people need on this ship, and this room is full of things from the church. You can see some artifacts, you can see trinkets, bits of weird machines, you name it, it's there. There's bits of rubble, they've even taken bits of what looks to be some of the stained glass window and everything.
So he will start to look sort of methodically. A couple things. One, for another one of those canisters, like that he cracked open and that was sort of containing raw magic that had, powered his magic for that quick, short time, just as almost to believe that it was real. And then I think the other one is he's looking to see if he sees anything that was stolen from his lab.
Okay, could you roll me an intellect check, please? I'll let you roll with advantage because you have Averick with you, so he'd be looking as well.
And so actually, I will probably do, can I use focused as I'm focused on doing this?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'll probably do focused. I can put Averick in as an asset, I guess. And then I am going to throw some effort at it because that's what to do. Ooh, yeah. So, where do I roll this? I think it's just it shows the information of it. It just means that it's just that it's not actually the roll, but the intellect.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it's I'm focused on that. It makes it so it's easier to focus, but then it makes it so that I don't see stuff around me.
Awesome. Okay.
I get tunnel vision, and with advantage is a 16.
Okay, you are looking around, and there's so much stuff here, so many things here. Some things you recognize, some things are like broken or useless, or just bits and bobs. Probably things that have been confiscated from people. Your eyes linger for a moment when you think you recognize Noah's satchel, but keep looking through all these bits and bobs. You can see Averick moving stuff, and there's a moment where you stop. It's not like you're looking at something, it's like you hear it before you see it, like a low hum. And it's almost like you feel compelled to do it. It's not like it's not you doing it, but there's sudden eagerness to get through this stuff. Right. You've got Axel is by the door. He doesn't seem to be bothered by what you're doing. He's just there. And you come over this glass canister with a crack down the side. And your artifact is sat inside this canister, as if it's just been cast aside. It doesn't seem to be anything too protective. Looks to me maybe it's been found. Maybe like the crack that in the glass is. You can guess from the way it shattered. It probably happened when the debris fell in the church or something happened. Right. But they don't. The Valadrians don't seem to have taken particular notice of it. So it's not like been labeled as of particular importance. It's literally hidden under a lot of things. And it's there. What does it look like to Tolan? So
it is about probably 18 inches long. It is a intricately woven structure, sort of like almost football shaped, but sort of with the ends would be cut off, so it's flat. So there's sort of this cylinder through the center of it, and it's sort of this multi-leveled woven structure. For those of you who've been to London or seen downtown London, it actually sort of has that same look as that big egg-shaped building. It almost looks like the Gherkin, but sort of more kind of Fabergé egg-like, with this intricate filigree and clockwork and sort of conduits in it. And a lot of it is like very small, like clear piping that sort of wraps around to it. That's obviously there's hollow, so that liquid and magic flows through it. It's not terribly, a lot of the big artifacts of Dunera are like Valadrian. Valadris itself are very showy. It is not showy. In fact, it's almost kind of, in a way, if you don't really look at it right, just kind of looks like a tangled jumble of things. But when you kind of begin to unwrap it with your mind, you realize that there is a design to it. So I think Tolan, seeing that it's basically been cast aside and not identified, he looks around to see if he can find sort of like almost like a basket or a crate or something, and start put it in, and then get some other junk type stuff, including Noah's piece. He'll actually see if he sees anything of Agatha's, knowing that she was was taken for a while. I think anything that he can obviously say, I know who this is, or even then a few things that can just be like, oh, this is something that was taken from my shop. So sort of puts together a crate of things, so it's not as though he is fixating on the fact that his artifact is there.
It's almost like a fruit box kind of crate that you can absolutely find and start putting stuff in. Averick's looking at you. He hasn't said anything, but he's seen that you found it, and you can see that his eyes are wide, and he's almost frozen for a minute looking at it. Sort of shakes it off, but
I kind of lay my hand on his wrist to calm him down, and just under my breath say, it's dormant. It needs to
stay that way, Tom.
I know. He sort of looks over his shoulder. Valadrians are curious. And unfortunately very good at what they do.
Okay, let's get out of here. We'll take it back to the shop.
It's the lab, actually.
It's been a while.
Do you think you could, huh?
It's been a while.
Do you think you okay?
I'm fine.
We can do this together.
Okay, and he starts just piling stuff onto it as you're holding it, and he even throws there's a jumper or something. It looks like a bit of maybe a tear off of one of the banners from the church, and he literally throws it over the top as well. And you turn to leave. And back at Aggie's, Florence, you have been fed so many biscuits, you have been topped up, all of this tea. And Aggie looks a little bit sleepy, but she smiles, looking casting over the letter. I guess I'm going to have to go to Valadria then.
You're going?
Of course I'm going. If I stay around here, probably more and more people are going to ask me questions than if I go there. We didn't exactly enter the church quietly.
Did y'all, this is a silly question to ask, but y'all are the ones who did that, aren't you?
She smiles. And she doesn't say anything, but you know it's a yes. It's very much, if she says it, then she's confessing. But she smiles and gives you almost half a nod. It's just me now. Well, me and Jeremy and Jemima. And sort of, the cats are purring over in the kitchen.
When I was on the ship, there was a little girl with a Sylvis, and that Black Ash fellow has a wolf. Tuva, yes. I'm sure they'd let you bring the cats if you wanted to.
No, I don't know if they would cause too much chaos on a ship. And she smiles. I don't know. They seem quite content right now. And Florence, you look over to the kitchen, and Aggie's eyes are definitely fixed on Jeremy and Jemima, who are sort of crooning up at nothingness as they purr, both of them, as if they were being tickled underneath their chin. But what you see is a person you've seen around Carnum before, is stroking underneath the chin of these two cats. As Aggie turns back and focuses on her cup of tea, You recognize this face, and you squint for a moment. This girl with short hair and glasses, squatting down by the cats. A small red sort of glow sits in the hood of her denim jacket, with a little red seahorse that sort of hovers just a little bit above Jeremy and Jemima. And Charlie looks to you and smiles and nods before getting up and walking through the back door and out into the garden. Aggie doesn't seem to have seen this. She pours you another tea, pushes the tin across. Are you staying for dinner?
If yes, I can't say no. And Florence, like, kind of, Biddy, I think, has like flown up and is like latched onto like a ceiling fan in the room and is just like hanging out. Florence, kind of, her eyes flick nervously up to Biddy and kind of looks to see how Biddy seems to be responding to what she just saw.
The wings are flapping slightly as if they're trying to balance. And this little bat's eyes are focused very much on the door as you see this small red wisp disappear around the corner. And that is where we'll leave Doors of Dunera tonight, which is all good. It's good to be back. So, otherwise, please check out the links that are coming up in chat. It includes our Discord. There is a channel specifically just for Doors of Dunera. We'd love to hear your theories, love to see what you think, and all that shazam. Also, YouTube, if you've missed out on anything, please head over there. You can find all of the previous seasons on there. There are playlists so you can catch up. A huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors who we could not do this without, in the form of Hero Forge. You will have seen the little minis of at least Reese and Florence, I think, in the break. Also, it's very addictive, I will say that. Put time aside, because I've spent a lot of time over on Hero Forge. Also, the wonderful Mage Hand Press. You can get Dark Matter now. I really advise this. They've been doing it for 2 years. I've seen every single version of it before it became this, and it's so amazing, and I love it. And last but certainly not least, the Deck of Many, where you can see the moving spell cards and also the most adorable Humblewood book. Otherwise, keep evoking emotions, and we'll see you all later. Bye.
Join Alice's Patreon.
Do it.